Hey now, I recently ran out of starter vials for propagating yeast starters, so today is the day to go ahead and make some more. If you've watched some of my brewing videos, you might have seen that I like to ferment using yeast starters, and those are almost always grown up from agar wort slants from my yeast lab. So I thought I would go ahead and just show you the process that I like to use in order to make these starter vials, these 10 ml vials of 1020 starter wort. So for this, I'm going to be using these vials here. These are, I believe, 25 ml vials. And you can see here that I've just got a nice little rack for them that I use when I'm filling them up. I'm going to be using just filtered water, of course, just so we don't have any chlorine or chloramine issues. I've got some dried malt extract in here, some yeast nutrient, a flask that I'm going to use just to get everything dissolved in solution. I've got a auto pipette here so that I can fill these vials up, a couple of spoons, a nice accurate scale, and I've got some mason jars that I'm going to use when I pressure can them in, of course, my pressure canner. So the first part of this process is actually just making the wort. So I've got 250 mils of that filtered water in there, and I'm going to be adding 13.64, right around that, grams worth of this dried malt extract. There. Perfect. I'm also going to put in just a little bit, this will be somewhere right around a quarter teaspoon or so of some yeast nutrient, just because obviously it's imperative that we have lots of nice nutrients going on here in that initial growth phase of the yeast. Now it's time to heat this up. So I've just got this flask heating up on the stove top here, just on a low heat. I'm not in a massive rush for this. We're not taking this to a boil. We're simply getting it nice and hot so that everything is dissolved in solution and mixed up. So when actually calculating the amount of DME that I need for this, I just used this little spreadsheet that I built back years and years ago, back in, it was 2009 when I initially did this. And this was based on, I believe, a calculation in Palmer's How to Brew. So what I've got here is this desired gravity that I wanted was, as you know, 1020, extract potential of the DME, the volume of the starter, and so 250 mils is 0.066043 gallons, and then the weight of the extract here is the 13.64 grams. So this here is the actual calculation that I use for that. So I've just been stirring this occasionally here, and we're at the point now where it's just at a nice warm temperature and I'm not seeing any chunks left in there whatsoever. So we're going to say that that is nicely mixed. You can see there's just, well, I can see anyway, there's just a little bit of steam coming off of this here. So it's time to fill up those vials. All right, so you can use just a regular pipette for this if you want, but I really like this auto pipette. I've had this, again, since the beginning of my yeast lab, and it just makes everything super, super handy. So I'm just going to be picking up 10 mils and putting it in. We're not worried at all about sanitation or anything at this point because we are going to be pressure canning it. So just filling them all up. Okay, well, I got a little bit greedy. I actually wound up getting 25 vials out of this, and you can see I have just a little bit of this wort left in here. So it's time to get these into the pressure canner and get them sterilized. And we are heating up. So after 15 minutes at around 14 pounds of pressure, you have these completely sterilized, beautiful vials ready to be inoculated with yeast. So I'm just going to take these, I'm going to refrigerate them, and they'll be awaiting an inoculation of yeast at some point. So yeah, there you have it. Really easy, not a lot of tools required, super simple, and until next time, keep it at 11.